Good evening, everyone. Tonight we'll fill you in on all of the latest local headlines of Western Massachusetts and some of the week's most groundbreaking world news.
In this week's headlines, the husband of a missing woman is found dead in his apartment. Students and community members rally for a recently fired UMass Boston chancellor, and President Trump orders an airstrike on Syria.
I'm Maria Manning.
And I'm Stefan Geller. This is UMass News Now.
More than 35 students at Mount Holyoke College grabbed signs and played dead last Friday in response to the college's decision to continue investing in the fossil fuel industry. While students laid across the ground for the protest, known as a die-in, organizers from the Mount Holyoke College Climate Justice Coalition spoke behind Mary Lyon Hall, according to the Daily Hampshire Gazette. One member, Marissa Patterson, spoke about how roughly 88% of students voted for divestment in 2014, while 92% of faculty voted against fossil fuel investments in 2016. In a statement released last Thursday, the spokesperson for Mount Holyoke stated that their responsibility lies with protecting endowments, and that divestment would negatively affect scholarship assistance for students, and because the college has no direct holdings, would force it to sell around $337 million.
World-renowned linguist, philosopher, and political activist Noam Chomsky spoke at UMass Amherst on Thursday night, where he discussed the dangers of climate change, nuclear proliferation, as well as issues with modern diplomacy. The talk, titled Prospects for Survival, was sponsored by the UMass Political Economy Research Institute. The event was presented as part of the celebration for the newly constructed Crotty Hall, the new home of the Department of Economics and the first net-zero energy building to be constructed at the university. Chomsky is currently serving as Institute Professor and Professor of Linguistics Emeritus at MIT. He has written over 100 books, essays, and articles covering topics from linguistics and mass media to war and politics. Chomsky was an outspoken critic of the Vietnam War and in 1967 garnered widespread attention for his anti-war essay, The Responsibility of Intellectuals. He is often referred to as the father of modern linguistics.
The suspect of an alleged bomb threat made against a UMass student and the campus was arraigned last Wednesday, according to UMass police via the Daily Hampshire Gazette. 27-year-old Hadley resident Abdul F. Ismail, who is not a student or employee of the university, had been visiting a woman he met on the dating app Tinder in Coolidge Hall, where he made verbal threats to a student and was escorted out of the residential building. Campus police responded to the scene shortly after and determined there was no danger to anyone in the area. Ismail was arraigned on charges of making a bomb threat and threatening to commit a crime, and is prohibited from visiting the university for 2 years.
Amherst College officially has a new mascot. After a nearly 7-month-long selection process, Amherst College students decided on the Mammoths, taking the reins from the previous unofficial school mascot, Lord Jeffrey. Lord Jeffrey Amherst had created quite a stir because he was historically documented to having used disease as biological warfare against Native Americans during his time as a British Army officer. Cullen Murphy, chair of the Amherst College Board of Trustees, wrote in a letter to the Amherst community, quote, "What is beyond dispute is that the symbolic figure of Lord Jeff has become a source of division among us today," end quote. Students voted for the Mammoths over 4 other possible candidates, including the Fighting Poets, the Purple and White, the Valley Hawks, and the Wolves. The college is still working on a logo for the new mascot.
A huge congratulations goes out to the UMass Minutemen Marching Band, which for the first time in history has been invited to perform in the Tournament of Roses Parade on January 1st, 2018 in Pasadena, California. The honor was earned after early morning and late night rehearsals and efforts to keep a legacy of high performance and Minutemen pride. The marching band is one of 20 bands chosen from high school and Army groups around the world to perform. The event will be broadcasted live. In the days leading to the parade, the band will perform at BandFest at Pasadena City College. Congratulations, Minutemen.
A massive drug raid in Holyoke's Churchill neighborhood was executed by federal, state, and local law enforcement officials on Thursday. Police arrested 20 people and seized more than 24,000 bags of heroin, worth about $80,000, as well as $114,000 in cash and luxury vehicles. The charges include Class A drug distribution, Class B drug possession and trafficking in heroin, conspiracy to violate drug laws, and a possession of a firearm without an identification card, among others. District Attorney Anthony Golini said in a statement, quote, "This is tremendous work by the Hampton County Narcotics Task Force, especially the members of the Holyoke Police Department and the Massachusetts State Police Detective Unit assigned to my office." End quote.
The Easter Bunny was arguably one-upped by the Northampton Parks and Recreation Department on Saturday, hiding more than 13,000 plastic eggs in Northampton's Look Memorial Park for the annual Easter celebration. For decades, the egg hunt has been a tradition, and organizers hid treats inside each egg for youngsters, from infants to 10-year-olds. According to Sophia Renaud via Mass Live, a Northampton High School senior and a volunteer at the event, hiding that many eggs took only about 1 to 2 hours and were found even quicker by egg hunters.
To raise money for Syrian refugees, the UMass Amherst Muslim Students Association and Amherst Amnesty International Chapter organized a basketball tournament. Our very own Maria Manning has more.
On April 2nd, students in Boyden Gym raised funds for Syrian refugees in the all-day basketball tournament Hoops for Syria. Co-hosted by the Muslim Student Association and Amnesty International, the event also helps students bounce back from fears of the Muslim ban and turn to action. Tuba Galani, the MSA co-president, said her Islamic faith fuels her interest in charity.
For me, it's a moral obligation. It's something that I see I have so much in my life that I have to give back.
Refugees are not objects. Like at the end of the day, they're just like families, they're family members. They love, they live, they have kids.
87 students played, each paying a minimum $10 registration fee. Those who watched said they went to show support and socialize with friends.
Seeing people be passionate about something and like taking time out of their day to do stuff like this, you're like, wow, people are really good. People really care. And it's very rejuvenating when you see people do stuff like this.
The event created a lighthearted day for a serious cause, and players looked pleased to have shot a few baskets for the refugees. Maria Manning, Amherst Wire, Amherst.
In regional news, the body of Michael Kelleher, a 23-year-old Southborough man, was found in the Charles River Sunday, according to the Boston Globe. Kelleher was missing since March and was last seen leaving the TD Garden after a Celtics game. After his disappearance, his family posted flyers throughout the city and messages on Facebook to try and find Kelleher. Jake Wark, a spokesperson for Suffolk County District Attorney Daniel Connolly, said there was no obvious signs of physical trauma to the body. The manner and cause of death are still being investigated by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, and information about services will be forthcoming. This is one of at least 2 men found dead in the Charles River in the past year, one other being Zachary Marr in February 2016.
Authorities have arrested a man allegedly responsible for the killing of Vanessa Marcotte in August of 2016. Marcotte was found dead in the woods near her mother's home in Princeton, Massachusetts, after she had gone out for a run during the day. Her body had been battered and burned, causing terror in the community and leaving police searching for the killer for months. On Saturday, police arrested 31-year-old Angelo Colon Ortiz of Worcester. Colon Ortiz's DNA was allegedly found on Marcotte's hands, leading to his subsequent arrest. Along with the authorities responsible for the arrest, Worcester District Attorney Joseph D. Early Jr. credited Marcotte herself for helping them find the alleged killer, saying, quote, "It was through her determined fight and her efforts that we obtained the DNA of her killer." Colon Ortiz is being held at the Millbury State Police Barracks on $10 million bail and was arraigned Tuesday in Leominster District Court.
In national news, Emma Morano, the oldest person alive at 117 years old, passed away on Saturday in her home in northern Italy. Morano was the last surviving individual born in the 1800s. Dr. Carlo Bava told Associated Press reporters that she did not suffer, but died peacefully in the afternoon while sitting in her armchair. According to Bava, Morano started working at 16 in a factory making jute bags, then at a hotel until beyond the usual retirement age. He said she was always decisive, and in 1938, during the fascist era when women were supposed to be submissive, left her physically abusive husband and made her own life. He said she was also a good dancer and beautiful singer, and despite health advice from doctors, stuck to a routine of eating 3 eggs daily. Since her peaceful passing, Violet Brown, a woman in Jamaica who was born in 1900, is now considered the oldest person in the world.
In Cleveland, a suspect who murdered an elderly man while streaming on Facebook Live committed suicide. Steve Stevens, an Ohio resident, walked up to 74-year-old Robert Goodwin Sr. and shot him while streaming the incident on Facebook with his phone. Stevens claimed in the video that he snapped and became violent because of a woman. Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson publicly urged Stevens to turn himself in at the time. Authorities said the video was live on social media Sunday for about 3 hours before it was taken down.
The most anticipated birth of the year finally occurred Saturday morning when April the giraffe brought her healthy babe into the world. Hundreds of thousands of people have been following the animal's pregnancy journey in a pen at Animal Adventure Park in upstate New York through Facebook Live. And while for months there have been false starts, viewers finally got a chance to see the baby giraffe's first moments in the world. According to Hollywood Live, the park plans to hold a baby naming contest in the near future. And if you are signed up for text alerts from the park, you can find out the baby's sex a few seconds before the rest of the crowd.
White House officials said Friday that they will not release logs of visitors to the White House for privacy and national security concerns, breaking the practice of President Donald Trump's predecessor. They argued that the decision is in line with what previous administrations have done except for President Barack Obama's, and that continuing Obama's practice of releasing the records could interfere with policy development. However, White House officials said some information could be released on a case-by-case basis.
Well, that's all we have for tonight, folks. Be sure to tune in again next week for all the latest local headlines. I'm Maria Manning.
And I'm Stefan Geller. Thanks for watching UMass News Now. Have a great night.